It's showtime.
Welcome to Show Me Some Television, the segment where I watch full seasons of television thanks to Roger's Show Me service. And in this video, I'm going to talk Extant Season 1. Now, I didn't know too much about Extant when it first came out. I remember seeing an ad and seeing Halle Berry and immediately thought Catwoman and dismissed it. But as I've been watching stuff on Show Me, one of their ads came up and it had, multiple different ads have come up, but during one of them it had stuff from Extant. And it had, space station and space and robots, and I was like, I like space and space stations and spaceships and robots. Maybe I should check it out. So I did. And as it's an interesting, very, very interesting program. The cast is relatively small, like main cast is relatively small, and as I had mentioned, Halle Berry is essentially the main character, of course. The secondary main character would be Gorn Viznick. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Gorn Viznick. I don't know. But he was from ER. That's where most people are probably going to recognize him from. But it also has Hiroyuki Sanada, Michael O'Neill, and Cameron Manheim as essentially the people you might recognize. You may not know their names, but you'd recognize their face more than likely. And then it also has a young Pierce Gagnon as the son slash robot. And essentially what Extant is about. Halle Berry is an astronaut, and she is in space on a space station. Solo mission for essentially a year, a little bit more than that, but essentially a year-long mission. And on that mission, she comes in contact with an alien that impregnates her. Her husband, played by Gorn, he's apparently he's a robot. He makes androids or something. I don't know. Not much about his history, but essentially he is involved in creating artificial intelligence, and he creates a little boy robot named Ethan, who, because him and his wife are not able to conceive, he decides he's going to bring that robot home and treat it as, their own son. And so you've got a multitude of different sci-fi elements and stories going on here. First, you've got, the space stuff. You've just got stuff in space, astronauts. You've got a space program. You've got a evil corporation type thing going on where they're pulling the strings and trying to make some stuff happen. Then you've got an alien and an alien baby, and the alien can do stuff, and that's pulling strings. And then you've got a robot and creating artificial intelligence and dealing with that, and dealing with the family structure, and dealing with kids and how to deal with kids, especially when a kid's not really a kid, but it's a robot, but it's trying to be a kid, but you're trying to teach it how to be a... it gets a little confusing, and it's a little much, and then throw into the fact that, hey, you know what? Some people don't like the idea of artificial intelligence. And you roll all of this up into one season. And I will say that there are so many sci-fi elements going on here that I think it's too much. I really do think it's too much. It's almost like they could have done And you know what? It's weird. You get a full season, and the full season plays out almost like it's a film. I mean, you could edit parts of it out, but in general, the story arc is a standard story that you would find in any sort of like a novel or a film or something like that, where you've got your mini climax, your major climax, and then your denouement at the end type thing. And it's odd. It's almost it's funny because it's almost as if they were playing it out. Because it, like I said, there's all these themes going out, but then they sort of almost all wrap up at the end, and then boom, you get the last few minutes of the season to give you a to be continued type thing, right? And there's just so many things going on in this film, and every single little piece of them is developed. It's coming to to the climax, essentially. It's all there for a reason. And it's funny because they go through all of this stuff, through the entire thing, just to be able to get to this conclusion of sorts, this solving of a problem that's happening. And a lot of it could have been cut out, but then it wouldn't be a television program, then it'd be a movie, right? You got to fill it with something. And there was just so much going on. Now, that being said, it worked. All the stuff that was going on tended to work, but they had to make a lot of leaps. There were a lot of leaps in judgment, a lot of leaps in logic, a lot of leaps in just stuff. They're like, well, just take the final episode by itself. I won't give any spoilers away, but there is a problem that's going along the entire the entire season almost. And in the final episode of the season, out of nowhere, it's like, oh, and here's our magical thing that we've created that will help you solve your problem. And there was no indication that anybody was working on this. There's no indication that anybody even had the know-how or knowledge or whatever, the ability to be able to create this thing. But hey, here you go, presto, your family doctor, well, not your family doctor, but your physician has come up with this thing that will help you right now, that'll only get used once. But we made sure that it's a plot point. So yeah, there's a lot of little jumps here, jumps in logic and such, which I really wish they would have not done. It would have really helped my opinion of this show. Yeah. What is up with people being emotionally, unstable? Really unstable? Because this entire season, and I guess series in general, well, I don't know there's only a second season as far as I know, and I haven't seen that yet. But in terms of the first season, really depends on people being emotionally unstable, not rational, doing stuff because they feel it needs to be done. Oh, we feel like that. I feel this, and you're just like, I think there's one person in this entire show who makes any sense. There's only one rational, logical person in this entire season who I can actually get behind and go, you know what? I get you. I get what you're doing. You make sense. Everybody else it just makes me scratch my head going, are you serious? Really? You're an idiot. But they have to be idiots, because if they don't, then the series, the season falls apart and things don't get done. So, yeah, I don't know. Extant. There's some good. There's some bad. There's some stuff in the middle. The CG ranges from okay to meh. There's a lot of stuff in terms of technology in this, and one of the aspects about that I like is because this is the near future. There is a lot of little things, that could potentially be, in the next 10 years, maybe next 20 years, we could see a lot of this stuff happening here. But who knows? It's all sci-fi at the moment, right? But science fiction has a tendency to become science fact. And so I enjoyed that aspect of this series quite a lot. There's a lot of tablet use, which I found a little odd. Especially considering some of the stuff, the technology they show is, past tablets, and then they seem to use tablets. I don't know. It's one of those things, one leap forward, two steps back type thing. It's just when you think things make sense and they're going somewhere with something, they turn around and go, oh, by the way, here's a rotary phone type thing. There is no rotary phone, don't get me wrong, but that's kind of like what it is. It'd be like, oh, here you go, we've invented the cell phone. Oh, everybody's got cell phones, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and here's your new phone. It's a rotary phone. What? Well, that's kind of the way it seemed with some of the stuff. Everybody's got these new technologies. We got robots. We got all these kinds of robots, and here you go. Here's an iPad. Not a fancy iPad either, just a regular iPad. Beep, boop, boop, beep, boop. I don't know. Just seemed a little weird. But yeah, I'm gonna watch season 2. I did like the space station stuff. I did like some of that stuff going on. I felt a little weird about the entire alien storyline. I think it overshadowed the artificial intelligence storyline, and the artificial intelligence storyline became more about the relationship with the family, and eventually, being a solution to the problem in the end. But yeah, it's almost like, you remember with X-Files, it's supposed to be about aliens, and then every once in a while you'd get, some pseudoscience, some Bigfoot or vampires or something. Were you like me and you enjoyed those other episodes a little bit better? It's kind of the same thing with Extant for me. The alien portion of it, I'm just like, meh, okay, whatever, aliens. But it's the, the robot and the family integration and how that plays out that kind of enjoyed a little bit more. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's got a lot of mixtures in there. It's got some, AI, artificial intelligence, obviously, little boy robot in a family. It's got sort of alien or aliens vibe going on. It's got maybe even a invasion of the body snatchers a little bit. There's just all sorts of different little things going on here. Species would be another one that I would think would be a little bit similar to. And so, yeah, there's a lot of familiarity with it in terms of, your science fiction stories. And I don't think it really treads anything too new. But, familiar is okay. I enjoyed Extant. I wouldn't necessarily recommend Extant to people. But I wouldn't steer people away from it. If somebody asked me if they should watch it, I would be like, yeah, you could do worse. You know, if they're looking for something new and they've watched everything else, and I know they're into sci-fi, Extant, it's worth a watch. It's, like I said, some of it is really, really well done. Other parts of it, not so much. But, you know, it's an interesting mix. You just kind of have to... Yeah. You kind of have to go with that whole allowing for the emotions, because it really is one of the main criteria for making this season go forward. And unfortunately, I didn't like that part. Didn't like it at all. But I don't know. Some people probably did. Some people are probably looking at it and going, "Oh, Halle Berry, what a great performance." And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's drive you nuts. Stop being stupid. Hiroyuki Sanada, who's awesome. That dude is cool. Most of the rest of the people in this show are kind of lame. Sorry, all of y'all, but yeah, you're not Hiroyuki Sanada at all. That dude is awesome. And evil. And immortal. Kinda. Spoiler, oops. Anyways, guys, yeah, let me know. Have you watched Extant? Comment down below. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. Again, no spoilers. I tried to give no spoilers with this. You know, try to be as vague as possible with still giving an opinion. I don't know how well that came across, but yeah, it's definitely not for everybody. But I think you know, if you're into sci-fi, if you're into aliens, if you're into robots, then you'll probably dig it enough to warrant watching it. So I will watch season 2 and report back to you and let you know how it went. But until that time, take care. Have a good one.